It has been said that in Twilight Struggle, you need to know the cards well in order to play well. Well, we're going to take you through every card one by one, and we're going to help you become a master at Twilight Struggle. This is Legendary Tactics. If I'm introducing someone new to Twilight Struggle, Blockade is one of those cards that I feel morally obligated to let them know about. It can be absolutely devastating, even game-winning, if the US player forgets about it or is forced to suffer the consequences of its event. Today we will look at the best ways to both use and mitigate this card. First of all, let's take a look at Blockade. It's a Soviet event, a one-op card, and the event states that unless the US player immediately discards a 3 or more value operations card, eliminate all US influence in West Germany. It takes some skill to use Blockade well. For example, it is an event made weaker by headlining it or playing it early or midway through a turn. It's much more effective played in the following way. Assume that the US player has not forgotten, nor will they forget about Blockade. Assume that they have a card, likely a Soviet event that they didn't want to play anyway, like de-Stalinization, held back so they can get rid of it when you gleefully play Blockade on them. So, timing is everything. Here are the best options. Option number 1. Play it for ops, hoping to catch the US off guard later on in the game. Number 2. Play late in a round when the US player is under Red Scare/Purge. This can be very powerful because it can potentially be unstoppable if the US has a weak hand. Number 3. Count the cards and play it when you know that the US player is not holding any strong cards. No matter what, it is best played later on in the turn, preferably in your last action round. Another roundabout way to get a benefit from the Blockade card is to use it to cut down the US hand size to where they have to play decolonization or de-Stalinization against their will, which is most effective when the US does not hold the China card. If you play this in the first 2 rounds, then it guarantees that de-Stalinization will be back before the turn 3 reshuffle. The US strategy is simple in this case. Have a 3-ops card in hand until Blockade has been played. Yes, it's that simple, but it is also that serious. You do not want to lose West Germany due to this event, as it can put tremendous pressure on you to hold France and Italy, which are notoriously unstable in this game. If the USSR plays it for ops in the early war, do not forget about it and hold on to a 3-ops card every round in the mid-war. If you get it in your hand, it's generally better to just trigger it and get it out of the way. Make sure that you discard a 3-op or more USSR card event to at least offset the negative impact of Blockade. In some cases, Blockade can help your cause by getting rid of a nasty event that you really don't want to trigger. If you don't have a card with enough ops, then you have to be okay with holding it over to the next turn. And if you're forced to discard de-Stalinization or decolonization, which are both cards you would prefer to get rid of after the turn 3 reshuffle, you're going to have to deal with that too. If you have the space in your hand, you may want to hold it over until the mid-war when you can use it to get rid of a nasty USSR event like Muslim Revolution. A sneaky play using Blockade is when you have a 3 or 4 ops card in hand and Truman Doctrine. Play Blockade on your second last action round. Frown visibly, squeeze out a tear, and then remove all of the influence from West Germany. Use the 1-op that Blockade provides to replace one of the influence lost. When the USSR gleefully jumps on the opportunity with a 4-ops card, play 3-ops into West Germany in your last action round to tie him. This sets up a giant influence arms race for the following turn. The surprise comes when you headline Truman Doctrine and remove all Soviet influence from West Germany, and you regain control. Now it is time for the Soviet player to tear up. A wise Soviet player should be very cautious about Blockade if the Truman Doctrine card is not out of play yet. I have pulled this off in real life, and I do recommend it. If you really get stuck and you are forced to play Blockade, with no 3-op card to discard. It is recommended that you play it on your very last action round of the turn. You can mitigate the damage by making sure you have influence in an adjacent country beforehand, and brace yourself for an influence race. And, if you're lucky, your opponent might discard containment in an effort to minimize that event for them, thereby allowing you to play a 2-ops card to satisfy Blockade's event condition, or space Blockade if you have to. The great player Riku Rikkonen has put together another possible option, which is, if the US player has Blockade in either destalinization or decolonization in hand on turn 1, it might be worth considering an opening setup that leaves West Germany entirely empty of influence. Why? Basically, this allows you to play Blockade without discarding any cards, and allows you to hold on to destalinization or decolonization until after the turn 3 discard. The USSR is then faced with a dilemma: either coup Iran as usual, or take control of West Germany with a big 4-ops play. To me, this play is much more viable in the case of using the standard game rules, as opposed to the usual US handicap of 1 or 2 extra influence, which would make the decision for the USSR much easier. However, as with anything else in this great game, it depends. This has been our analysis of the very intriguing early war Soviet event, Blockade. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. And this is NATO with Legendary Tactics. Thanks so much.